Okay, so the next step that we want to do is we want to create a contract between Celine as an individual, who's going to be the manager of this law firm, and the law firm. So remember that one of the principles of the FlexUp economic model, the FlexUp ecosystem, is the principle of non-discrimination. So even the founder, even the owner, even the manager of a business should follow the same rules as everybody else. So what is Celine going to do? She's going to create a product where it's going to be like her management services. She's going to work for the law firm, and she's going to work for, let's say, since she's quite senior, it's like 12,000. And I think the VAT is 21% in Belgium, 12,000 euros per month. Okay. Now bear in mind that this is the total cost for the company. So maybe she's a freelance or she has like a specific professional status where she can send an invoice with VAT, but she has to pay her own social contribution, her own taxes, and so on. So we always look at the total cost for the company. And now that she has her product, you can see that this product is now in her local directory. This is the only product that she has for now. And in her third parties, she has the Celine legal firm. So she's going to create a contract. She's going to create a contract where she's the supplier, the legal firm is the client. She uses the professional services contract category. And this contract is going to be subject to the charter of the Celine legal firm. So even though she's the legal owner of this business, and even though she's the manager and the founder, she's signing a contract like everybody else in her team. Now, some of these should appear by default. Now, you don't need to put the name because this would appear automatically, but you can call it, if you want, you can call it like management contract. And you see that we have by default a contract template. Why do we have this contract template? Because we selected the professional services category. So some of these have a default template, but not all, right? So for example, advisory doesn't have it yet. The FlexUp license has it. And if you do a funding contract, the investment has a template, but not the other one. So progressively, we will be adding new contract templates. But for the professional services, we have the contract template. You'll be able to download it, but you can also go into the FlexUp website in the resources contract template, and you can see professional services. We have a description of what this is all about. You can see a tutorial about this contract in detail. This is quite a detailed tutorial. And you can download the general conditions and the special conditions. So she's going to have a recurring monthly contract. This means that she has a fixed monthly remuneration. And let's say that the contract was signed on the 21st or 1/01, starting on that date. I mean, in this case, we're doing it retroactively. There's a single product, or maybe there's like multiple products. We're going to make, so one product is management services. So that's 12,000 euros per month. And the default quantity is 1. And she's going to pay herself for now with this payment structure. So she's paying herself 50% firm, 25% flex, 25% credit. But since she's the owner and the founder, she's not going to use redeemable credits. So we're going to add the payment structure a little later. And then maybe she has like expenses. Maybe on a given month, she may have some expenses. And we don't have a certain price or value. We're just going to have, this will be reimbursed firm, right? So whenever she has expenses, she's going to be paid. So let's put this temporarily. We were going to change it later on, okay? So we could have a single payment structure for the whole contract. This is a bit more complex. We have multiple payment structure because depending on the product that is being paid, different payment terms apply. Since this is a recurring contract, you need to create an order. So let's start with the first order. This is the order. So now we are inside the order form. We've automatically, so the contract has been created successfully, and we were automatically sent over to the order contract. So the order form. So we create the first order linked to this contract. So you see the reference of this contract. You can see that it's a recurring contract because there's these arrows. It's a professional services contract. You can see it from the little lamp, and then the new means that the contract hasn't been sent yet. It hasn't been signed. It's still being drafted. So we're going to skip the delivery options here. But for the delivery details, we're going to say that this is the contract. This is the order for the month of January 2021. That was her first month. So when you have a recurring contract, it means that every payslip or every rent or every bill is a new order. And every month you create a new order and you give the starting and finishing date for whatever period this order was covering. So you can see that when I created contract, it automatically gave me the default products that we had added to the contracts. And let's say that in the first month, she didn't have any expenses. And it was sent, when was it sent? It was sent on the, so we're doing this retroactively. Now you can add manually the contact details for the invoice, but actually once you add this information into the member, into the current member's detail, it will automatically be assigned to the orders. So you don't have to do it manually. And you can check this here. If you go to the members, Celine, you edit this, then title, you can say, well, there's no title, but you can say Celine individual at example.com. And then this is going to be her mobile phone, something like that. Okay. So whenever you add those details in the member, then they will appear automatically when you edit and save. Now you see it isn't there. If I save it, whoops. You can see that now the details, the contact details were automatically updated. And when the other party reviews and updates this contract, then the client's contact details will automatically appear here. So generally, you don't have to worry about this. It's automatically assigned. Once you save the order, you also see some information about the history. Who has done what? So far, the editor is the individual and the recipient is the legal firm. That's the editor is the person who created this order. So both the supplier and the client are free to create an order. And this tells you who's the supplier, who's the client, and who's done what. And this tells you the same information, but instead of discriminating between the supplier and the client, it discriminates between who is the editor and who's the recipient. And if I modify a contract or an order that was sent to me by the other party, if I modify it, then I become the editor. So the editor, he's not necessarily who created the contract, but who is the last person who modified it. So you can send it back and forth and modify it as many times as you want. But as soon as a contract is signed or an order is confirmed, that's it. You cannot change it anymore unless the other party agrees. So let's just go back to our contract and take a look. You can see that the contract is still new. It means it hasn't been sent, but there's already one order. And the total order amount is 12,000 euros, which is the order that we created together. So you can see that there's one order, there's one contract, there's two contract products. These were saved in the contract, and we have one product item, and we have three tranches. Why do we have three tranches, and what's a tranche? Well, you remember that this product that we added had a 50%. Actually, we can see the tranches in the order. You can see this order has three tranches, and you can see the tranches here. It's not easy to read here, but you have the 50% firm, 25% flex, 25% credit. And you can see it here. It's much easier to see. See, nice and clean. These are the three tranches that were added. So the total order amount is 12,000 euros plus 21% tax. So it's 14,520. And then it's split between these three tranches with different payment terms. Okay. So now let's go ahead and send this contract and sign it. So you can scroll all the way down. You can actually download the contract. Okay, so now let's download this contract, and you can download the blank template, and you can download the document with some data filled in. But you can see that in this case, it's impossible. You cannot download the PDF. Why? Well, because even when the template has some data filled in, the app doesn't have all the data you need to properly fill the template. So some of this has been filled correctly. You see, this is the data from the app. So you can remove the formatting. You can put it in blue if you want to show that this actually comes from the contract from the database. But there's some information like the description of the service and the order confirmation process where today the app doesn't automatically generate this. So what we have is we just have the template with a few options. So this is an example for a recurring order. This is an example for a future order. And this is an example for, I don't know, a monthly recurring order. So by reading this template and by looking at the guidelines here, you basically have a good starting point for making your own contract, but you can still, you still have to manually make some of those choices, right? And what the contract says is, did you change the contract template? So you start with the template and you can make some changes where some changes are explicitly allowed. So basically where you have some yellow or green highlights, that's when you can make changes. But you should not change anything else. Okay. So this one you can finalize, you can clean it, and you save it, and you sign it with your third party. All of that is done offline. The app doesn't do the complete cleanup of the contract template. It only does it for the charter. For all the other contract templates, you have to clean them up manually. But at least you get 80% of the way there because the app will generate it and pre-fill some of the data. So now let's just send the contract over. Oh, wait a minute. We said we would change the payment structure. So let's create a new payment structure for Celine, right? Let's just call it the manager's payment structure. for managers. Let's call it for managers. We're going to make this private, and we're going to say that Celine will be taking wait. Okay, so that's a problem you're going to face, that since Celine is an individual, she did not sign a charter. She cannot create flexible payment structure. We need to go in the Celine legal firm where we do have a charter, and there we're allowed to create flexible payment structure, right? Managers, and then it's going to be 25 plus 25 plus 50. So the manager is going to be paid with a higher level of risk. They get a lower base firm payment. Then they get a bit of flexible payment, but this time these are non-redeemable credits, right? So the company can't force them to sell their credits. So they have standard credits, and then standard flex, and then standard credit. Okay. So now we have this payment structure that is different compared to the employees, right? This one, we're going to call this for team, right? It's going to be 50 plus 25 plus 25, and it's redeemable. Okay. So there's no structural difference between managers and team members, but there can be differences in how much they're being paid and which payment structure we select for them. Okay. So FlexUp is not a communist system where everybody is treated the same, but everybody plays by the same rules, and it's transparent and it's flexible. That's the main difference. So let's go back to Celine. Now she can select the payment structure. Oh, wait, the one that we just created wasn't public. So we need to make it public. You see, it's private. That's why Celine couldn't find it. So let's make this public. And now if I go back to the individual Celine, of course, if I had created the contract from the legal firm account, I wouldn't have to go back and forth, right? Because I would have everything available right there. Now you can see that I can select this 25% firm, and you can see that I don't see the nickname, because the nickname is only visible in the account that created it. So this is a payment term from the Celine legal firm account. You see, this payment term is an option that is made available to me from the other account. Okay, and then now we're good to go, and we can finally send this contract, and we can sign it, or we can wait for the other person to sign it. In this case, since it's the same user managing both sides, I can just go ahead and sign it, and then I change my hat, and now I'm managing the Celine legal firm account. What do I see? I see that I just received the contract from Celine individual. So I can review the contract. I can even say, hey, we forgot. I can modify it. Say, wait. There's a little mistake here. We forgot to put the tax rate. Okay. The rest looks good. Everything looks very good. Everything looks good. And you can see here now, I see my nickname. You see, I can see the nickname because I'm the one who created this payment term. And then everything looks good. So I will save it. And you can see in the history, the status, you can see last action by supplier, last action by client. So the supplier signed it, and then the client modified it. So it's back to draft status. So now I send it, and I'm going to sign it. But since I made some changes, then Celine needs to go back, and she did sign it, but she signed the previous version. In the meantime, it's been modified. So now she has an opportunity to review it again. Now the tax rate has been saved. She says, okay, now I can finally sign it. And you see both parties have signed it, and the signed action, which is a joint action, has been this. So both parties have signed it. So a joint action only becomes effective when both parties do the same action. So I can't unilaterally pause or terminate the contract. I can do a joint action pause, but the contract will only be paused if the other party also pauses it. Okay. So this contract is signed, and you can see it's signed and it's active because it already went beyond the effective date. So you have the signature date, and then you have the effective date, and we signed it, and we're past the effective date. So the contract is active, and Celine now can send the first order. I mean, she could send it before, but she cannot confirm the order as long as, wait, that was the old payment structure. So let's modify this. Good thing that I checked it. I want to edit, and I want to make some changes, and I'm going to put the 25% payment structure. Let me review this. I have 25% firm, 25 flex, 50% credit. I can even click here and just double check what credit. It's credit standard. Yes. Okay, that looks all very good. So let me go back to my order. I can send this, and I can confirm it. So confirming an order is like signing a contract, saying, yeah, from my point of view, it's good. But then we have to wait for Celine to also go in her orders. We have received this order. She can review it, and she can confirm it. And now the status of the order is confirmed. And since we selected automatic delivery, then the status was accepted. What does automatic delivery mean? Well, it's written in the tooltip. When the order is confirmed, the delivery status is automatically marked as accepted. If you do a manual delivery, that means that you can sign and confirm an order, but you have to wait until the supplier tells you, no, I started the delivery, I finished the delivery. And then as a client, you can accept the delivery, or you can reject and say, no, I have some claims. There's some things that are wrong, so I don't want to pay because you need to finish your job, right? That's a manual delivery. So now that the order has been confirmed and signed, you can now see that we have these financial commitments